When you are on the go, you need your credit union to be right there with you. Hughes Federal Credit Union makes your life easier. For 60 years, Hughes has called Southern Arizona home and has given back to our community. Isn't that who you want as your financial partner?
Welcome to Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. I'm Star Sports Editor Ryan Finley here with Greg Hansen. Greg, I hate to say that you called this, but last offseason you wondered how many games Arizona would win in the Pac-12. And right now we're midway through the Pac-12 season, basically, and the Wildcats are winless. The latest thumping coming last Saturday to USC at Arizona Stadium. Is this as bad as you would have thought, or are things even worse?
I thought they'd go 2-7 in the league, not 1-8,
right.
Not 0-9, but now those are in play.
Absolutely.
You know, I was thinking, what are the highlights of this first half of the season? And I came with two things.
Okay.
Standing after the game and watching the Grambling Band play music.
Yes. Awesome.
That's number one.
Right.
And meeting USS Arizona Pearl Harbor survivor Lauren Bruner the day before a home game. And those are the two I came up with.
I would include Brandon Dawkins a little bit in there, in that I think he was so surprisingly good coming off of the bench. And I think it was that game against Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, looked really good in the second half, but you know, injuries have slowed things down for him. J.J. Taylor, I would argue, was a highlight of the season for about 6 quarters until he broke his ankle. Now we won't see him till next year. I mean, even if you're just looking for something to pay attention to when you watch it on TV, there's not a whole lot of that on this team.
Boy, to be in the Pac-12 and compete, you got to have some sizzle.
Sure.
Boy, this team just doesn't have a sizzle.
Right, and the guys who could have brought some sizzle or could have overcompensated for a lack of sizzle, they're hurt.
Right, and I don't think injuries are an excuse because everybody has them every year.
Right.
Now, at quarterback, the way Arizona's had them, that's something of an excuse.
Right.
But the rest of the team wasn't very good to begin with.
Right, and that is the thing that I think will be lost a little bit when we start to tell the story of the 2016 season. This was not going to be a particularly great team to begin with. Then you suffer the injuries, okay, and now they're going to be bad. I mean, even if they went out, they're what, 5-7? I hope that the story isn't a bunch of quarterbacks got hurt and it ruined their season, because their season was in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Everything had to go right for them to have a good year anyway.
I don't think it's possible to salvage this season unless you beat ASU in the final game of the season.
Yep, and we've seen it happen a million times.
If you're 2-9 and beat ASU, I still think you salvage the season.
Right. Well, look at the year Mike Stoops was fired, right? They were terrible heading into that ASU game. They had Tim Kish coaching, and they pull it out from out of nowhere. They beat ASU. They come home. They beat Louisiana Lafayette. And all of a sudden, Tim Kish is getting interviews to stay on Rich Rod's staff.
Yeah, it was all lovey-dovey stuff,
Yeah.
and it ended on a good note.
Yeah.
I remember that team positively.
Yes.
Even though in mid-October it was really bleak for a few weeks. Can this year's team leave you with a good feeling? What do you think? The probability those ESPN guys set for it, I'd say 8%.
What is Arizona's #1 goal during this bye week, and what do you do to kind of get back at it next week against Stanford?
I guess, to me, the only goal they could possibly have is hope that Brandon Dawkins can play a full game and get him to that point.
Right.
Because I don't think you can develop guys who haven't been very good in 6 practices.
Right. I think when you talk about quarterbacks here, I think that we kind of know who Anu Solomon is at this point. I'm not sure he's going to take them where they need to go this year. And the opposite of that is Khalil Tate. I'm not sure Khalil Tate has enough experience in games and in practices to step in and do anything.
Yeah, I mean, they figured him out already, which everybody should have known they would. But every now and then he sure looks good, doesn't he?
I know. Flashes of greatness every once in a while. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. For Greg Hansen, I'm Ryan Finley. We'll see you next time.